Hello all, happy hump day. We are halfway through the week already. I hope everyone's having a good week so far. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Oh my gosh, how funny was that show this morning? Well done to Mexican Iron Man and Go-Go 13. And Lupita. That was a great show, guys. Well done. Let me see who's here today and say hello to everybody. I know Chris Persia was first. So good morning to Chris Persia and to Mark the Infinitely Tired. The Bash Bros are here. Pretty sure Project Storytime was one of the first here as well. So good morning to him. Let's see, we've got Pod Racing Palpatine, good afternoon. Firefly MK1, good afternoon to you. Colin P. Smith, good afternoon. And yep, you're absolutely right. But that's a really good idea for a show that we can do in the future. TV remakes, that would be pretty awesome. And I agree. The CGI Captain Scarlet was really, really good as well. Although I do have a soft spot for Jerry Anderson. Let's see who else is here. We have got... Damn, you guys were busy this morning chatting back and forth. We have got Punk Waddle. Good morning. Brightest day. Good to see you. Ren Zero. Good morning. And good morning to Arwen Avalon. Hello, love. There's Golgo 13. Good morning. Good to see you. JM Cruz. Good morning and greetings. Alison Stepson. Good morning. Or rather, good afternoon for you. Good afternoon, love. D-Bud Martin. Good to see you. Low Spec Linux Laptop. Good to see you. Pat S, good morning, and Camphor, good morning to you too. Hope you're doing well. And hello, Wendology. Hello, sweetheart. Good morning. Good afternoon. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody. I think that's everybody so far. Dadman Walking, I missed you. Hello, good morning. Good to see you guys. I hope you're doing well. So, was trying to come up with a kind of topic to do midweek this week, and I thought, well, we kind of have a go a lot of the time about remakes and reboots and how they're not very imaginative, but what actually kicked this idea off in my head was watching a film that I knew was a reboot, which was Cape Fear. So the one that I watched was the one from Martin Scorsese, with Robert De Niro, but obviously it is a remake and a really decent one from a film from 1962, which had Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck in. So that's kind of what kicked this idea off in my head. I thought, well, this is a really good remake. So what else is out there? You know, what else has been an idea, something that's, you know, maybe a film that's from the 60s or 70s that was redone in the 90s or 2000s that they actually did right. And funnily enough, going through and kind of doing a little bit of research for the topic, a lot of them fall into the horror genre. So it's not me being biased, although I do love horror films, as you know. Just a lot of them just seem to fall into that category, you know, things like The Thing, The Blob, those sort of films. So I'll cover those as we get to them. Debo Martin, yes, I remember that scene as well. The best Cape Fear remake starred Sideshow Bob and Bart Simpson. Back when the Simpsons were funny, exactly. And Chris Persia, now that was a good team up. Mitchum and Peck, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Robin Mitchum anyway. Night of the Hunter is one of my favourite films. So pretty much anything with him in, I'll sit down and enjoy. A Nearsighted Cyclops, yes, I Am Legend. Yep, one that is definitely on my list. And one that's been remade several times. You know, I really like the one with Will Smith, as you say, but I really like the one with it's gone right out of my head. Vincent Price, Last Man on Earth. So that again is a great film as well, and another remake. And Golga says, "Wait, The Simpsons were funny back in the day. Yeah, probably I would say 15 plus years ago." I thought it was pretty funny. At least they had some very funny one-liners. And Renzira says, I prefer the Chuck Heston I Am Legend, but I love Chuck Heston. I think there were 4. Was a silent movie too? Yes, I believe so, if I remember correctly. And since we're talking about it, let's go on to the thing, since Deepak Martin brought it up. I actually love The Thing. It's one of my absolute favourite horror movies. As you say, it's got Kurt Russell, so you can't really go wrong. But it's such a good film. I love the special effects. I love that they it's a closer to the book than the black and white film that we had, which is also a really, really good horror film. But there's just something about this 80s remake. I think it is the creature. They did so well with this, and the fact that it's a really tight film and they ramp up the claustrophobia as the film goes on, and you're left wondering, who's the thing and who's human. So definitely a fantastic film. And Arwen says, my husband lived for The Thing. I can't deal with the creepy spider head. That disturbed me as well the first time I saw it. I think the one that kind of got me the most was when his chest opens up and the doctor goes to put his arms in and just loses his arms. When Danachi says The Thing remake is one of my all-time favourites too, absolutely. And a big thank you to Gogo13. Thank you, honey. He sends us a $2 super chat. It says, Ben-Hur 60s is a remake and has been remade. My fave. I've got to admit, I like the 60s version. There's just something about it. Even I think it's probably the chariot race that probably does it. That's such a good scene. Even though there's a guy with a wristwatch that you can clearly see. Which is kind of funny. But then in Gladiator, there was a guy running around in jeans that you can obviously see in the background as well. So sometimes things slip by. Firefly says, here's one for a remake, Planet of the Apes. So I'm guessing you don't mean the one that Tim Burton did, because that is a terrible film. But if you mean the one that's got made into the franchise, absolutely. I think that was a really, really strong remake franchise. I think mainly because of Andy Serkis playing Caesar. I adore Andy Serkis. He is a great actor, and he's just one of those actors that can really kind of convey with body language rather than with words. Golgo says the chariot race can never be remade. Too expensive. Oh, I agree. Yeah, that was a one-time thing. I think that was probably one of the most expensive scenes filmed up until that point, if I remember correctly. Absolutely. And thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Ben-Hur is probably one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. I agree. I think it's one of those I'm going to have to rewatch as well. It's like that and 10 Commandments. It's films that I've seen, but I haven't seen for a long time. So I'm definitely going to add that to my rewatch list. The chariot race took a year to plan and shoot alone in that film. Yeah, that I believe. Absolutely. And good morning, speaker. Good to see you. Welcome. And hello to JM Cruz. He says, Purple Valkyrie, The Thing, 1984, was the pinnacle of sci-fi horror. Perfect practical effects, awesome storylines, all the characters had time to shine. If only E.T. wasn't in the same year. Absolutely. And I love both of those films, I've got to admit, for different reasons. I think both of them are great. I mean, we've said it before in the past, the 80s and early 90s had some of the greatest films of all time. But yeah, for horror, sci-fi horror, yep, The Thing and Alien, you can't go wrong. Since we're on horror, as I said, a lot of them seem to come from the horror genre. I am going to throw out for you guys It. Now, I love the original, but it is dated now. I think Tim Curry was amazing as Pennywise. Uh, and this is coming from somebody who absolutely hates clowns. I do. It's true. I despise clowns. They're not funny. Not at all. So to see Tim Curry bouncing around and being insane as Pennywise really, really kind of stuck with me. I don't dislike Skarsgård. I think he's a really good actor. But there's just something that wasn't quite there with him. But I thought the cast did really well, especially the kids. Part two, I think, is a lot weaker than the first part of it, but still a worthy remake that actually surprised me. And I think the only reason that it works so well is because the original is kind of dated now. You watch it, and it was obviously, it wasn't a film; it was a mini series, and it's not looking as great as it was. Let's see what else we can bring up. So, how about A Star Is Born? Now, this is one that I kind of put off watching for a long time. So the first Star Is Born was from 1954, and I think it was Judy Garland, if I remember correctly. But the one with Lady Gaga really, really surprised me. I thought she did brilliantly in it. Not a massive fan of her as a singer, but I really like her as an actress. I think she's actually really good. Really liked her in American Horror Story. I thought that she played a really good role in that. And in A Star Is Born, she really, really sold the role. So I was really surprised. It was one of those ones that I was thinking, do I really want to watch another remake of this film? But yes, yes, I did. And hello, Rookie Critic. Good to see you. He says the Parent Trap had a decent reboot. Yes, I remember that one. Wasn't that the one with Lindsay Lohan, if I remember correctly? I think. Yeah, a pretty solid reboot, absolutely. Colin says, wasn't there a Barbra Streisand version? Yes, there was. Yep. It's one, I think there's 3 or 4 A Star Is Born versions now, if I remember correctly, which is why I was kind of hesitant to watch the latest one, but I was wrong. I will put my hands up. It is actually a really good film. The Rookie said, yeah, it was Lindsay. Thank you, honey. And thank you, Psychodwarf9. Good morning. And so Psychodwarf9 sends us a $5 super chat. It says 98% of time, if it's good enough to deserve a remake, it shouldn't be remade. Agreed. Yes. And I think there's some films out there that people would go absolutely nuts if they tried to remake them. The one off the top of my head that I can think of is Princess Bride. I know they keep trying to push it, but oh god, I really, really hope that they don't. And hello, good afternoon, Louise. Hello, honey. She said, You've Got Mail is a great remake because it gave it a modern slant. Yes, I remember seeing that in the cinema, actually. I absolutely agree. And surprisingly enough, it was one that I didn't realise when I first watched it that it was a remake. But I absolutely agree. Giving it that modern twist definitely worked really well. And hello, TZ Canadian Beer. Good morning. Says good morning, or good afternoon, rather, Purple. Listening to you at work. Well, I hope you have a fantastic day. And Seabird Martin Garnered Mason, A Star Is Born, was a remake of the Janet Gaynor Frederick Marsh version. Wow. So that goes back even further than I realised. But still a good story. But if you've seen one, you kind of have seen them all because you know exactly where the story's going with it. And thank you, Rookie. Thank you so much. She said, "What do you think of the Punisher films? There were 3 attempts." I I'm not the biggest fan of the Punisher as a character anyway, to be honest. I think, let's have a look, see which one came first. The one that I remember the most was the one with Thomas Jane, which I think was 2004. I think that one was the one that I enjoyed. Let's see what other version there were. So there was one in 89, which was that Travolta? Was that the Travolta one? Oh no, that was Dolph Lundgren. That one. Oh my god. I think I've seen that one, but that one didn't really stick with me. But it was the Thomas Jane one that I remember the most, which I think I enjoyed. Which one was your favourite, Rookie? Which one did you like? And speak for the dead, I'm right there with you. If they tried to remake The Princess Bride, I would burn down the theatres. Well, they keep hinting at it, so I really, really hope it never happens because it's such a good film. Punisher Warzone is my favourite. It's a live-action Roadrunner cartoon. That's a good way to look at it, definitely. And Nearsighted Cyclops brings up another good one that should never be remade. Big Trouble in Little China. Big mistake. Kurt Russell is Jack Burton, except no substitutes. Absolutely. Well said. Let's see what else could I bring up. Let's bring up one that I've put in the thumbnail, which was 3:10 to Yuma. No, I'm a big fan of westerns as a genre. They're one of my favourites. Now the one from 57 is actually really good, solid drama. Really strong cast, really strong performances, but the modern day, the more modern interpretation is actually also really great, and it's aging better than the 57 one did. Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, both really, really strong performances from them. And it's one of those films that's I would recommend if people aren't big fans of westerns. I think it's a really kind of good one to jump into because one, you've got the modern cast that people would recognize, and two, it's a relatively simple story to follow. So definitely one that I think is a worthy remake and one that I always enjoyed. Somebody brought up in the chat earlier Casino Royale. Now I had to go back and think. The original one, if I remember correctly, was 66, 67. No, the one from 2006 with Daniel Craig is pretty much the same story, but it's given a much more kind of grittier, no-nonsense take on the story, which I think worked much better for it. So of the two, I've got to admit the Daniel Craig one is probably the better Casino Royale, at least for me. Let's see what Para says. Papa Valkyrie, no touching the man with No Name trilogy or The Searchers or any Western remakes I could live with. Agreed, absolutely. And good morning. Hello, Ginger Ninja. Good to see you. Welcome. Friend Zero says, technically, Casino Royale isn't a remake. The original was an experiment spoof film. That's a good way to look at it. And Mark says, Casino Royale remake was better than the original. I think so too. I think it's just a stronger, technically better film, um, which is good to see. And I am a big Bond fan, but my James Bond will always be Sean Connery, of course. Let's see what else we can bring up. How about another one that I put in the thumbnail? Dawn of the Dead. So this remake came from 2004. I mean, I'm a big fan of George Romero, and the original was in 1978, which was a sequel to the Night of the Living Dead from I don't know. Dawn of the Dead was 78, yeah, and Night of the Living Dead was 68. That's it. I'm getting my decades mixed up. But this 2004 one was actually really good. I thought the cast was really strong. I just think it was a really great kind of film. It was directed by Zack Snyder, which I think it's probably one of the earliest films of his that I remember seeing. But he did a really good take on it. You know, he the characters, the cast were all believable. And I just like the idea of them being stuck in a shopping mall, being besieged by hordes of zombies. So I think that was a really strong version that they did. And then Chris says, and then they ruined it with the sequel, Army of the Dead. Agreed. And Wendology is a fan of George Romero as well. Oh, awesome. One of these days I'm going to have to do a kind of focus on his films, because I am a big fan of him as well. Absolutely. Zero, the original The Omen by the late Richard Donner, is far superior to the remake. That I will agree with. Absolutely. Yes. The Omen, great film. The sequels, not so great. But the first one, yep, a really, really strong film. Absolutely. And Arwen says, but zombie babies, never a good idea. Agreed. Absolutely. Louise asks, did you know there's a remake/sequel of Overboard? I didn't, actually. I do remember the original Overboard, but I didn't realise there was a sequel. Is it any good? Is it worth watching? And Colin says, I wonder just how many Dracula remakes, reboots there have been. Oh, I would imagine probably in the 30s, if you're including things like spin-offs as well. Colin. And Rin Zero says, The Omen is the greatest horror film ever made, arguably with The Exorcist, in my opinion. I'd agree with that. I really love The Exorcist. And it was, weirdly enough, one of those films that didn't have that big an effect on me. But I know people a little bit older than me, it really kind of shook them. I think that kind of hit a little bit too close to home, because before that we had, as Colin said, we had films like Frankenstein, we had Dracula, but this was a modern take on a horror movie. Alanson Steps in Music says the first Dracula film was in 1931, I think. I think you're right. I believe you right, absolutely. Louise said, let me scroll up and grab that. It starts off well, but they give up halfway through and just use the old scripts. I know, because I love the original and could say it with them. Oh, I wouldn't mind watching it though, if you recommend it, because I like you do really like the original. I think it's a really kind of cute film, so I might give that one a go as well. Add that to my list. Thank you. Mark says, have to say that Bram Stoker's Dracula is the best because of one person, Gary Oldman. Oh, Gary Oldman shines in everything he does. Absolutely. And Arwen agrees about The Exorcist. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. Just there was just something about it that just really unsettled people, which I suppose is exactly what you want from a horror movie. Since we are on horror movies, I'm going to bring up one again that I remember. So it's Chuck Russell's remake of The Blob. Now, I would say that the remake is far superior to the original, just because of the effects that they use. To see this huge undulating pink mass just oozing across the town and devouring people, I thought it was really, really well done. The original, it's pretty good, but it's definitely very, very dated now. So this one, as with another one that you guys were talking about in the chat, The Fly, really, really great updates. And I think it's the special effects that kind of lift them, if not the story and the script, that kind of just bring these up to another level. And hello to MB Geek Likes to Talk. Good morning. Thank you for the super chat. He says, unlike many, I really love Loki series. Cannot wait to do my video for episodes 4 to 6. Maybe in the minority for this, but I own it and I'm fine with that. That is absolutely fine. I'm glad that you really enjoyed it. I'm still watching them. I haven't watched the newest episode, but yeah, look forward to your reviews and see what you think of them. And thank you, MB Geek. Appreciate it. And Speaker says he loves Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 90s. Me too. Absolutely. A really, really great film. Colin B. Swift says, wasn't a very young Steve McQueen in The Blob? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But there's just something about that. MB Geek says, I think you pissed it off. Yeah, great B movie. Absolutely. And I really like B movies, I've got to admit. And Project Storytime asks, where's the remake of Battlefield Earth? You know what? If somebody did do a remake of Battlefield Earth, I would watch it because I don't think it could be any worse than the original. So I would very much like to see them improve upon it. And hello, Borg Porg, welcome. He asks, who's your favourite slasher? Jason, Freddy, Michael, Ghostface, or Leatherface? Well, for me, it's always going to be Freddy. Mainly because I love Robert Englund. I think he's a fantastic actor and he's a really nice guy. But there's just something about the way that he portrayed Freddy as a character. You could see that he was having fun. And I know he got very kind of jokey as the films went on. But the first film and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, really, really strong, where they brought back the horror element of him and just how frightening Freddy would actually be, because eventually everybody has to sleep, obviously, and that's when he'll get you. And Gogo13, thank you again, honey. Appreciate it. Treasure Planet. The Disney Treasure Planet, is that the one that you mean? If that's the one that you mean, I actually really liked it. I think it was one of those films that came out in a time where people were kind of tired of the Disney animated films, so it didn't really come out to much fanfare or much interest. But I thought it was a really strong film. I thought it was pretty good. The cast was good. Characters were good. So yeah, definitely one that I like. When G asks, have you seen the Trollenberg Terror? Was retitled in the States as The Crawling Eye. Yes, I have. Yes, not for a long time, but I have seen it, absolutely. A very weird film, if I remember correctly. But again, a really kind of fun B-movie. I really like them. And hello to Cavalryman Shay. Good to see you. Good morning. And Speaker says, well, Hollywood is going to fix Highlander until it's broken. So excited. Not. Absolutely. I would kind of put it out there that Highlander didn't need a film after the first Highlander. I think we pretty much told the story. So we didn't need sequels, and we didn't really need the TV series. Although I've been told the animated series is pretty good. But yeah, very nervous about this Highlander film, even though it has got Henry Cavill attached to it, apparently. Paris says Tarantino considered doing a remake of Reservoir Dogs as his last movie. He's decided against it. I'm glad. I'm glad. I wouldn't want to see a remake of that. Absolutely. Let me scroll up because I just saw a really good comment. There it is. Project Storytime. I think Treasure Planet was the final Disney movie that Jeffrey Katzenberg had any input in. That I would believe. It's very different in tone to a lot of them that came after. Definitely. But I liked it as a film. I like the characters. I like the character designs. I thought it was a strong film that kind of fell by the wayside because it didn't seem to be that popular, even though it seems to be more popular now. Same with Atlantis. That film's taken off, and Emperor's New Groove, that was the other one that people really seem to love now that they didn't like when it first came out. Chris says, wait, there's a sequel to Highlander? Oh, you're all thinking of the TV series of Adrian Paul. I refuse the existence of any further movies. It's a good way to look at it. And MV Geek says, really joshing for us to do the Twilight Zone top 15. I think we'll have a blast. Indeed, we will, MV Geek. I'm doing the research for that at the moment, so once I've got a definitive list, we'll sort that out. Love Twilight Zone. What else could we come up with? One that we did touch on when we were talking about The Thing was The Fly. So I adore this film. I know it's a lot more gory, it's a lot more graphic than the one that came out in 1958. But I think Jeff Goldblum is a really fantastic fit for the role. Same with Gina Davis. And I really love David Cronenberg. I know a lot of people think he takes things a little bit too far, but I think this film in particular is probably one of his strongest. The practical effects, and just to see Jeff Goldblum just kind of disintegrating as the film goes on, I thought was really, really well done. And really sad, they didn't kind of shy away at the end of the film. So again, one that I always recommend to people if you're not too squeamish. It's a great film. One that we were talking about before the show started was A Little Princess. Chris Persia mentioned the one with Shirley Temple, which was late 1930s, I think, if I remember correctly. But this one, the remake, came out in 1995. I think it's one of those that kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. But Little Princess, the one with Shirley Temple, is a film that I've always really enjoyed. I thought it was a really sweet story. And this one is, it tells the exact same story as the one with Shirley Temple, but just a little bit more lavish production. I really liked it. And if you guys just want a very kind of simple, sweet film, I'd recommend it. And the other one that I recommended, which was out around about the same time, was A Secret Garden. Both of those are really sweet films. Let's see what else we can bring up. Going back into the horror, a lot of Wes Craven's films seem to have had remakes, but probably the one that I liked the most was his remake of The Hills Have Eyes. So the one from the 77, it was okay. It wasn't great. The special effects were a a bit naff, to be honest. The makeup effects weren't particularly great. But this one is really, really brutal. Really great cast. You actually believe in the family. You believe that they're in peril. And I really like the mutated family as well. I thought that was a really good kind of way to show it. They've all got these weird kind of mutations from being exposed to radiation in the desert. So again, if you're not too squeamish, it's one that I would recommend. Wes Craven, the king of horror. Absolutely. I really liked Wes Craven. I thought he was a great guy. Project Storytime. Oh dear. Star Trek Into Darkness is a far superior version of Wrath of Khan. Ooh. It got rid of that pesky logic story, likable characters and sense. It added explosions. Oh my gosh. Project Storytime, you crack me up. You really do. Mark says time to be Project Storytime. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. You guys are crazy. Should I beat him purple? No, Mark. We love Project Storytime. We really do. That was funny. Thank you for that, Anne. Oh. Oh my god. Let me see what else I can bring up, you guys. We've done Casino Royale. How about oh, there's another one. How about Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Now this one, the original was from 1956, but the far superior one came out in 78, which is the one that I think people most remember, especially the end where he screams. I think this one is the far superior film pretty much on all fronts. It's suspenseful, it's eerie, it's got a fantastic cast, and it really kind of drives the message home. So that one, I think, of all of them, is one of the better horror remakes. Let's see what else we can come up with. Little Shop of Horrors. No, the one that I'm talking about obviously is the musical, which is the remake. There was another one that came out, which was really campy, which was in the 1960s. But this one, well, how can you not love this one? It's such a good film. And I agree with some of you who were talking in the chat earlier. I really like the original ending. Even though it's much bleaker, I think it's much better than having the quote unquote happy ending that they decided to go with. But it's again a really strong cast. Let me see. Little Shop of Horrors. So it was Ellen Green, that's it. I could not remember her name, who played Audrey. I thought she was really good. Obviously, Rick Moranis, Steve Martin. It's got Bill Murray in. It's got a really big cast and just little cameos as well. But one of the ones that I absolutely love. And Audrey gets full real quick. Yes, indeed. Let's see what else you guys are saying. I'm meaning green, says Pete Dencat. Ginger Ninja says it's an amazing film. Absolutely. And Punk Model, I love that dentist song. Just the glee that Steve Martin sings that with. You can tell he's having a fantastic time playing that character. And Firefly, you have a great day, hon. You take care. Thank you. And Ginger Ninja says 78 was a great year, certain Ginger made his entrance. Indeed. Wow. Awesome. And Punk Roddle has now got all of the soundtrack stuck in his head. So, sorry for that. I'm going to have to sit down and watch it again now. It's such a good film. And T-Bird Martin says, I want my dentist to sing that song when I see him. If my dentist started singing that when I walked in, I would turn back round and walk straight back out again. But yeah, definitely a great film. Wasn't Steve Martin in Little Shop of Horrors? Yep, yes he was. He was the dentist, indeed. And having a fantastic time playing it, by the looks of things. I always thought that Steve Martin, like a lot of the comedy, well, quote-unquote comedy actors, played sinister really well. Same as Robin Williams. I think it's something about being a comedian helps you tap into the kind of darker side that you have. So it works really well. And you take care, Project Storytime. Thank you. Thank you, hon. Appreciate it. Mark brings up a good one. Scrooged was a damn funny and good remake of the classic Scrooge. Yes, that's one that I watch pretty much every Christmas as well. Another really good performance by Bill Murray. But I've got to admit, my go-to for anything Christmas Carol related is always going to be the Muppets Christmas Carol, because I love Michael Caine as Scrooge. There's just something really funny the way he plays that role. And the other one that I always watch was the one with Patrick Stewart, which is obviously a much more serious in tone, but still a really good film. And hello, Lady Miss. Good to see you. Oh, it skipped on me. There we go. There we go. Good morning, sweetheart. Good to see you. And hello, Fernbox Chicken. Another good one. Blackadder's Christmas Carol. Yes. I love that one. And Jim Carrey. Yes, that one surprised me as well. I was surprised how adult that one was in tone. I've got to admit. I think obviously if you watch it on the small screen, you can tell it was made to be seen up on the big screen. It was made for cinema. But I was surprised how good it is. And it's got a really small cast, if I remember correctly. They just all play multiple roles, which was pretty damn cool. Louise says, I really like the latest remake of Annie. Again, it was modernised, and instead of just copying or doing the stage show like the previous remake, yes, that I agree with. I was a little bit dubious when I first heard about it, but I thought, like you, they took it in a really interesting direction. I thought the cast were really good, but I've got to admit, I do like the other one, the other Annie too. Let's see what else we can come up with. So we did that. King Kong. Now that's one that I put up on the thumbnail as well. Now I don't know about you guys, but I actually really, really liked the version that Peter Jackson did. Admittedly, I think it's too long because I think it's nearly or just over 3 hours, if I remember correctly. But again, it has Andy Serkis in, it's got Jack Black in. I just thought it was a really well done film. I thought it was shot well. It was a lot more action-packed than others, but we've had ones from 1933. We had one in 76, and then we had the 2005, which really kind of amped up the special effects with Peter Jackson. But I got to admit, I still have a soft spot for the Ray Harryhausen made Kong. because I just love stop motion animation. Mark says, if we're talking reboots as well, I can't believe I forgot this one. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Love the BBC version, but the movie was far superior. Agreed. I liked it. I've got to admit, I kind of wish that they'd continued with the rest of C.S. Lewis's stories. I would have loved to have seen the Silver Chair. I think that would have been a really good one. I liked Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. I think Dawn Trader, if I remember correctly, wasn't that great. I think by that point, interest had died in the series, and I think the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was made to kind of challenge Lord of the Rings. Obviously, they needed this big fantasy based book series to make films from, and that's what they went with. But I liked it, I've got to admit. I really liked Aslan. I thought he was done really well. And Rinzira said they did 3 of the books in total, if I remember correctly. I think so. I think you're correct. Yeah, I would have liked to seen the others done, I've got to admit. And Cavatanio Cavrimanche says, anyone recall tasting Turkish Delight? I have had Turkish Delight. I've got to admit, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. Mark says, I was waiting on the Silver Chair and the Magician's Nephew. Yeah, the Magician's Nephew would have been a good one to do, I've got to admit. Ginger Ninja says, I'm a huge fan of Japanese King Kong versus Godzilla. Won't even bother watching the new one. I quite enjoyed it, I've got to admit. I thought it was pretty good. But each to their own, I will say. Arwen says, I was sad they didn't continue with the Narnia series too, but there was a mess up with the rights. Yes, I think you're right, if I remember correctly. But I would have liked to have seen them do the rest of the series. But I think by the time they got to, was it Dawn Trader that was the third one? Because we had Prince Caspian, thank you, Colin, was the other one. I hear you, Purple and Turkish Delight. I thought it was going to be nummy chocolate confectionery. It definitely is not. No, it's not. It's depending on what type you have. I think it's for me, it's way too sweet. For one, I really didn't like it at all. But I remember there was a surge in people buying Turkish Delight when the film came out. A lot of disappointed kids, I think, if I remember correctly. Renzira says Dawn Trader was the third one. Thank you guys. Thank you, Mark. I thought so. I can never remember which version or which order they were released. And Nearsighted Cyclops. Mark says, if you like sugar and rose, then you like Turkish Delight. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what it tastes like. Just sugar and a vague kind of aftertaste with it. No, not a fan. The problem with Kong movies is they change his size movie to movie, heck, sometimes in the same movie. That was one of the things that people picked up on with the Kong Godzilla versus Kong, how much bigger he was, but he really had to be any to be able to go toe to toe with Godzilla. And hello, Phonebox Chicken. While not superior, the 1979 version of Nosferatu, directed by Werner Herzog, is fantastic. Shadow by the Vampire is also a good film. Yes, that I would agree with. Absolutely. Both really, really good films. Purple Valkyrie, if Hollywood ever settles down again, the books would make a great animated movie series. I could see that. Yeah, definitely. I would. I think it's because I grew up watching them. I mean, because I'm at that age, I was a little bit too old to be getting into Harry Potter. But I definitely grew up reading the Narnia books, so they had a kind of special place in my heart. So it would be cool to see them back. Absolutely. How do people feel about the reboot of Dances with Wolves, Avatar? Um, I know it made a lot of money. It's not my favourite film, not by a long shot. And to be honest, I could really do without any of the sequels that are planned and have been planned for like the last 14 years coming out. I don't think anybody's really interested in Avatar now. But he will insist on making these sequels, so we'll see. We'll see if they end up being any good or not. Avatar sucked. Yeah, I think people were kind of blown away by the special effects, and then you kind of take a step back and think about the story, and you think it wasn't actually that great, actually. And good morning, Darius Munchausen. Good to see you. I hope you're having a good day. Mark says the last good James Cameron movie was The Abyss. Yeah, poor James Cameron's lost his way a little bit. Uh, Avatar? You mean the remake of Ferngully? Yeah, that one. Dances with Wolves, Ferngully, a little bit of everything rolled into Avatar. Absolutely. I know a lot of people really love it, but it's not a film that I was that interested in, I've got to admit. What else can I bring up? I don't want to bring up too many horror movies, but like I said, a lot of them kind of fell into the horror genre. So we had things like, if we're going to talk reboots, I suppose I think it was brought up earlier as well. It was Batman Begins. So obviously revitalizing the Batman franchise, bringing with Christopher Nolan, bringing him back into public consciousness. Even though I really, really did love the Tim Burton films, I think as the other films went on, they got kind of campy and a little bit silly. But with Nolan's, especially with Christian Bale taking the lead, they kind of elevated these films. I really loved the first two. The third one, not great. But Batman Begins, I thought, was a really good, solid reintroduction and kind of cemented how important Batman is in the public consciousness. And hello, Keely Chow and Snorter Poopers Cuba. Hey guys, welcome. And Dave Bob. Dave Bob says Avatar sucked. Indeed. I agree with you, Dave Bob. And Keela says Evolution is still better Ghostbusters than Ghostbusters 2016. That I agree. At least Evolution is fun and funny. Ghostbusters 2016 is just absolute tripe. I hate that film. But I am cautiously optimistic about the next Ghostbusters that's due to be released. I've seen the trailers and it looks, fingers crossed, like they're back on track. And Deadman Walking says, I'm glad I found people that didn't like Avatar either. Alvin says, bunch of judgy McJudgies. If you guys like it, I would never make fun of you for liking anything. It just, I remember watching it in the cinema and I really liked the special effects. I thought, it looked great, but the story was kind of lacking. But I know it made a hell of a lot of money. What about Dread? Now this is one that seems to split a lot of people. I'm actually a big fan of Judge Dredd from the comics. So he came about in late 70s. We had in 1995 we had the one with Stallone. Right off the bat, he kind of misses the point of the character by taking off his helmet. But I know why we did it, because it's Stallone, and they wanted to see the main actor. But Dredd never shows his face, or if he does, it's always either obscured or it's in shadow. It's a running gag, but I really liked the remake, adaptation, whatever you want to call it, with Carl Urban. Big fan of Carl Urban anyway. I think he's a really good actor. Pretty much like all of the roles he's been in, and I really liked in this Lena Headey. I thought she played a really great role as the main antagonist. It's not a perfect film by any standards, but I think it's definitely a lot of fun. I know Clobbering Times hates this film, so he would disagree with me, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, and I would have liked to have seen Mega City 1 if they ever make it. I know they're in talks back and forth, and they have been for the last few years. I know Carl Urban would like to reprise the role if it ever gets made. So I'd be very curious to see if it does. But again, the same as the Lord of the Rings series, it's supposed to have been, at the time, it was said to be one of the most expensive TV series ever made. So we will see if it ever does come about. Oops, there we go. Punkwater says, I like how the Carl Urban version, how there was no backstory. It was just a day in the life, kind of like Mr. Bean doesn't need a backstory. Absolutely, yeah. I really like what they did with Anderson as well. I thought that was she played a really great character. Dread with Urban was awesome. I've got to admit, I really liked it. See what else you guys are saying. Lena Headey was awesome. Yes, she was. And Dave Bob says Carl Urban was Dread. Absolutely. He really seemed to enjoy the role. So I'd definitely like to see him reprise it if they ever do. Phonebox Chicken says, oh yes. Dread was really great. The Stallone version was entertaining 90s action film. Agreed. But a crap Judge Dredd film. Alan Drury is in the Stallone version. Nice. Hello, Lord Thruff. Good morning. It says Dread was good, but it could have been better. I was looking forward to the sequel. I think so. I would definitely like to see him reprise the role, most definitely. Let's just see if there's just a couple more that I can bring up for you guys before I let you go. Again, lots of horror remakes, which I don't want to kind of do too many of. Let's see what else that we can come up with. Done Star is Born. There's a lot of the Disneys, but I don't class them as any good. Any of the live action films that seem to come up on list, I really didn't like them at all. Let's see, what else have we got? We talked about Dracula. That was a really good film. We did The Thing. And there was another one that I was going to bring up, and I can't remember. Let's go for this one. We'll end it with Brendan Fraser. So you guys, obviously, it's going to be The Mummy, the 1999 version. Really fun film. Again, similar to the Dracula and similar to Frankenstein, there have been so many versions told of these characters. But this one, it was just something fresh. I loved the chemistry between Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. I believed that they were a couple. I loved the back and forth between them. Really liked the special effects for the time. I thought it worked really well. And still to this day, those scarab beetles, that kind of clicking noise that they make, still makes my skin crawl. It was a really simple effect that they did, but still so creepy. So definitely, at least for me, a really worthy and really fun film. So I think the original film came out again in the early 1930s, 31, 32, I think it was. And even though we had multiple takes on the same, I think this is definitely one of the stronger versions and one that still holds up to this day. The sequels, not so great. But it was definitely a lot of fun and a lot more adult considering at the time. I think it was only a PG rating, surprisingly. And Colin says, let us not forget that the Hammer Mummy was one of Christopher Lee's first. Absolutely, it was. And again, a really, really great film. Nearsighted Cyclops says, really big swamp roaches make that same sound. Yes, I have had the unfortunate experience of coming across cockroaches once that were on the floor. Never forget the day that I found out that they can actually fly. That nearly ended me. So that's a story for another time, though, guys. And Pat, that was funny. It was. It says, I want my mummy. Boo me. That wasn't funny. It was funny. It was. And Avalon, she makes a really good point. Whatever happened to films being fun? Now the remakes have to have messages and be stunning and brave. Exactly. And the sooner we get back to films, one, making it for the audience, making it fun. And I don't even care if they just start doing it just to make money again. Just just give us a good entertainment. That's all we ask. Absolutely. Chris Persia says, would you consider The Shape of Water a reboot of The Creature of the Black Lagoon? Interesting idea. I guess I think it definitely plays homage to it. I don't know whether I would consider it a reboot because as much as I love Del Toro, I actually hate The Shape of Water. I was really, really disappointed with it. I call it Grinding Nemo. That's how much I don't like that film. and usually I love everything that he's in, that he does. But The Creature of the Black Lagoon is one of my favourite films. So I would definitely put a distinction between the two of them. And TZ Canadian Beard, thank you. So I'd rather just hear you talk about them. I would just do my gardening. Oh my god, you guys are nuts. Thank you so much for joining me today. You guys were on fire as usual. If I can come up with another list, what we'll do is we'll do a part 2 down the line because you guys came up with some fantastic suggestions today. So thank you ever so much. A big thank you to everyone who sent in super chats. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm lucky enough to be back tomorrow. I will be back on Mornings of Mischief. I will be joining Mexican Iron Man. We've got a kind of feel-good show lined up for you. Feel-good Thursday, if you will, kind of easing you towards Friday and then into the weekend. So, guys, I hope you join us then. Really, really looking forward to it. So, guys, take care. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Big thank you, everyone. Mwah. Take care.